Hi, thanks for tuning in. This is a weekend review for the week ending October 13th, 2023. We are approaching OPEX, so this coming week could see really anything happen. You could get a big old inside week and burn that theta, or the prevailing trend, which has been down, could reverse. So we'll have to see how it plays out. We're looking here at a quarterly chart of IWM. I'd like to just start here because this is the non-confirmation. I feel that without IWM and IYT rallying, you need to be very suspicious of a sustained bull advance. This stock here, this ETF here, is not looking good. So we zoom into the daily, the thing is just breaking down. Zoom out to the weekly, this triangle that we had is breaking down. SMA 50 bear cross below the 200, the 50 sloping it down. The 20 is below the 200. So you're having this slow, complacent thing that's taking place right now, right? Where, everyone got complacent here, and then you had this massive move, 33% in 11 months. And now we've gone sideways again for guess what? Basically a whole year, right? Just about the same as here. They go sideways for about a year, and then they do the move. And if we're looking at a symmetrical move, you're looking at somewhere around 130. Now I bring this chart up because we can go back to the quarterly chart, which is where we were. And you can see that this thing has literally gone nowhere. This here is 2018 in 5 years. And if we complete this pattern, we will have gone nowhere in about 10 years. Right? Just coming anywhere near 130 means IWM has gone nowhere since 2014. All the stimulus, all the rate, all the QE, it's all wiped out. So just something to focus on. This is not a trend any way, shape, or form. Right? This is a sideways period of consolidation. And you do still have a potential series, right? Just being objective. We're contracting here, okay? This high, here's your absolute low, and the lower highs continued the entire time, okay? But if we go back to this September-October period of 2022, you have a period of higher lows forming. It's possible that's happening right now. Now, I don't have up Thinkorswim. You can take my word for it. This is a TD9 buy setup on the weekly. IYT has the same setup. You can see here momentum is reset to the zero line. Histogram is accelerating lower, kind of like you had back here. You will start to get a rounded bottom on the histogram when you start to bottom. We don't have that yet. I'm not expecting a bottom here anytime soon. And if I really zoom out on this thing, you have a very similar problem. You have the buy signal that was generated, and now it's being met with a sell signal. We call that a bull trap. These monthly signals that have been going back all the way, as much data as I have, 2004, every time you get these signals, they last more than a month or two. Well, not this one. So that's telling me be very cautious and look for a similar move like the one we had 2021 into the end of 2022. I'm looking for that same move again. This entire thing here looks corrective. Okay, it just does. And even if she rallies from here at 223, right? Like this thing is dead. There's no trend here, right? We're now below all the moving averages. We had a trend here. We pulled back. This was your chance for the bulls to keep something going, and they didn't. All right? And they've now given back the entire year's move. And going out to the quarterly, you have this EMA 5, SMA 10 bear cross. And until she can either lose the 20 or get above the 10, she's stuck. And this is the non-confirmation, right? You continue to have this period of underperformance. And again, you'd have something very similar. 2014 would be 167 up to here to 205. I mean, they'll eventually catch a bid, right? But like this thing doesn't have to do anything. It can just do this, right? And maybe she already hit the B high right here. So, from where I sit, like this is just dead money. And if these things aren't advancing, then we're likely more in a period like this and less in a period like that. Pretty simple, right? Right? Look at these sustained rates. Like we don't have that configuration in the moving. Look at those moving averages right there. Like we don't have that. We have the bare equivalent. And you've done the throw. Like here's your resistance at 204. We've done the retest. We captured, we've retested. There's no reason to come back. Yes, I mean, again, I could do the same argument here. The series of lower highs and lower lows changed right here. But as soon as it changed, the very next month it was sold. That's a trap. And the higher low that we have right now, you can call it at 213. You can call it at 220, 221.32. If that breaks, this is done. I mean, absolutely done. You could be something like this. Absolutely done. Right? And if you really zoom out to these quarterly charts, again, like this is the problem right here, below the 20. Okay, whenever you've had the EMA 5, SMA 10 bear cross plus a loss of the 20, what does that look like? Right? Happened right here. It led to a bottom. It was the 20 was instantly recaptured. Well, we already had that. We instantly recaptured and then instantly lost again. Didn't lose the 20, so that's not one. Right? Okay, so I can go and show you when did this happen. We can go look at when these different periods happened. Okay, Q3 2008, Q1 2020, like all preceding these very, very big crashes. So again, I am not bullish IWM, and the fact that it's so bearish right now has me very cautious when we zoom over to these charts. Okay, so this entire advance that I've been talking about from Q4 of last year that you have here on SPY, that you have here on SMH, that you have here on QQQ, you don't have here on IWM, you don't have here on the banks, you don't have here, well, the transports are kind of holding, but you certainly don't have on small caps, right? And it's just a massive period of underperformance. And you'll see that here when we look at the intermarket analysis charts, but I'm just trying to emphasize that there's a non-confirmation. It's been going on for literally this whole year. It's the same non-confirmation you had back here, right? Q1 all the way into Q1 of 2022. And you look at what happened that same time frame, Q1 into Q2 2022, you had a 35% advance in that whole time. What's IWM doing? IWM was done. Couldn't advance at all. Same thing here, okay? This entire time, you've had a rally in QQQ, and guess what? RUT can't do anything. All right, and that's not what you want if you're talking like a period of sustained advance like Q4 2011. Let's look at Q4 2011 here. Right here. Look at this sustained advance for both QQQ and IWM. Okay, you do not have that here. You didn't have it here. The thing is broken. The non-confirmation that started back here is still persisting. And if we look for a symmetrical move, it means you should anticipate something like this. And if we really zoom in, we can even get the fibs. It's not that complicated. Let's take everything off the map. There it is, 148 to 116. So yeah, you throw the ball around and like, hey, look, the weekly here on SPY is almost back to zero. That is good. That's kind of what you want to see. But again, if this isn't the bottom, then structurally you're going to start to see something like this and a retest of these lows. Just like IWM has done. IWM has retested those lows. Okay? That's all she does is retest those lows. So why the hell would SPY hold when she's putting an EMA 5, SMA 10 bear cross and a loss of the 20? Both conditions are present. So what do we need to see? We need to see the reverse happen. EMA 5, SMA 10 bull cross, capture of the 20. Like you had back here. Okay, and it needs to hold. And so, and I'll say the difference here is that the 50 was rolling, now the 50's up. Okay, that's fine. Well, we just came into the 50 and rallied. So if we go back into the 50, you're not going to rally again. I would not anticipate a rally. So again, I'm very, very bearish on all equities right now. I'm willing to give them. I'm willing to give IWM because again, DeMark is telling me to be open to the idea that there could be a bottom in time this week in both IWM and IYT. And what we need to see, again, like, do we see a flight to safety? Well, yeah. Look at what happened to gold this week. Volume came flooding back in. Recapture of all the moving averages on the weekly. Now again, if she can't get above 181, this is just a big head and shoulders pattern. And this big advance that she's had going back to Q4 of 2022. So we're seeing a flight into gold. Not really a flight into bonds, but volume is coming back. Not really a flight into cash, right? We've already seen the flight into cash, and it started here in Q2 in July. So like, is this thing going to keep going much longer? I don't know. This could certainly go one more high. Could certainly come back up here. But again, this was a parabolic advance. They all end the same way. This could be the lower high on the dollar. This, into this supply zone. This bearish divergence type thing. Or this is your pullback to the 20 and this thing's going to set another high. Okay? But this is supply up here. We know it. It's all gaps, all up here. There's definitely going to be sellers who want to get out now. Right? So there's a flight to cash. There's a flight to gold. Bonds are still dead. And bonds are dead because TNX keeps doing what she's been doing. But I will say she closed below the previous week's low. Or right at it. But still above a rising 5. So like nothing's changed over here. So avoid bonds. Avoid bonds, avoid bonds, avoid bonds. Nothing has changed. So let's take a look at the intermarket analysis real quick. So SPY, right? TLT, and we'll zoom in here on these. Same story, different month. SPY versus gold has now looked like topped and put in a lower high, heading all the way back down to 220. So gold's probably going to outperform equities. Gold, right? SPY versus UUP pulled all the way back here. So again, I would anticipate equities to rally against the dollar from here. And if equities rally and gold rallies, then this chart here will probably, go sideways. But again, pulling back in a series of higher lows and higher highs going all the way back to last October. Now, if that's going to change, 13.5 will break. And these moving averages won't hold, but a 5,200 golden cross just fired on equities. That's what you want to see. SPY versus DBC pulled back, so equities pulled back to the 50 and is now rising. That's exactly what you want to see, and in a sustained uptrend. IYT versus IWM. IYT is outperforming IWM, but again, it's not that hard to do. IWM is awful. IYT is underperforming big cap tech. which is still the place to be if you're going to be in equities. It's still QQQ, SMH, and NVIDIA. Nothing's changed. QQQ over IWM. Nothing's changed. SMH over SPY. A bit of a topping distribution pattern here or a bull flag. It's too hard to tell at this point. But again, still SMH is outperforming SPY. SMH is outperforming IYT. No change in character. Okay, I want to look at some of the quantitative analysis stuff here, right? So I showed you this chart earlier, EMA 5, SMA 10 plus loss of 20. Here are the occurrences that's happened, right? These are all extremely bearish occurrences. We'll take a look at one for the bears, only third time in history the following happening. VIX up 15%, gold up 3%, crude up 5%. The other dates were, again, 2008, 2001, 2023. So not a good company for a bull. Now, why do lagging small caps matter? If they underperform large caps by 10% through early October, they're twice as likely to head into a recession within next year. What have I been saying to everyone? IWM looks like it wants to go a lot lower. Why does this matter? Well, if it's leading lower, if it's lagging lower, right, by greater than 10%, you're likely headed into a recession. Okay, now the consensus for bulls in the bottom decile for the first time in almost a year. The other times this happened, 2016, 2018, 2020, 2022, when you got these lows. So this is one for the bulls. Another reason to be cautiously optimistic. And again, if you look at this down here, you have a low, a higher low, looking for a higher low around 40 probably. You come over here, as a former CTA, this is from Jay Keppel. This wrong by way Corrigan history, but CTAs in mass tend to be trend followers, so it makes sense they would be net bearish at the bottom. Okay, so trend followers are very bearish at the bottom. That happens to me. I get very bullish at the top as well. That also happens to me. But again, when the momentum flips, my opinion changes. So yes, I will be extremely bullish or bearish at exactly the wrong time, but within one or two candles, that sentiment will be flipped and I'll be on the right side of the trade again. So are we here, right? Are we at the point right now where CTA position in US equities is at a very, very, very bearish extreme, implying that we're very close to a bottom in SPY? Certainly possible. Another one for the bulls. Okay, and here's the final one for the bulls. CBOE options total put call ratio. Extreme bearish sentiment. And we're there again. When was the last time we were this high? I mean, pretty much the beginning of the year. And this is where you tended to bottom out. This is where, when you get this high of a put call ratio, you tend to find a more of a longer term bottom. Let's take a look at the psychology studies. We've been looking at this one for a while. Extreme fear, fear, neutral, extreme fear, right? Everyone is a bit afraid, okay? TNX is rising straight up. It must fall, right? So when TNX and when the dollar top, you will find a bottom in equities. That could be this week. It could be in 3 months. We don't know. And finally, the NIM exposure, right? We're getting pretty bearish again. Lower NIM, closer to a bottom, all right? And again, like you can see, we've been coming from extreme fear. So we'll go back and take a look at the charts again and try to focus on some setups that I still am watching. Again, I'm watching gold. It's not lost to me. This pattern here is very, very bullish if the 50 holds. If the 50 doesn't hold here, then it will become very, very bearish. And quite frankly, you could be coming all the way back down here. All right, so it's possible this thing has already run its course. It's possible it's got one more in the tank. We'll have to see. And if she is really launching here on the quarterly, again, this 20 will hold. All right. So long way to go, but the flight to safety is cash and gold. It's not bonds. I hope that is very, very clear. It is very evident in the charts. So let's take a look here at NVIDIA, one of the stock market darlings. Momentum has topped at 20 and is now back to 9. We're looking for a higher low somewhere around the 0 line. Okay, still holding the 20. Could pull all the way back to here or here again as the market tends to bottom. See, so people think, well, SPY's going down, you must sell everything. It's that simple. It's not that simple. There are things that outperform SPY, and those are the things that you want to own. Do you see a theme here? Right? These are the things that I've been long for a long time. QQQ, still long QQQ. It's a beautiful setup. And one of the leaders in QQQ is NVIDIA. That's why we look at NVIDIA. That's why I also own NVIDIA. If I look at this, this is a textbook triangle. We're going to have one more low down here. The next time she comes to 354, she's likely to be putting it in the bottom. And you will start your wave 5 advance. And again, if, back to this sucker, this thing is putting in something like this, you would have one more advance, which aligns with the QQQ being wave 4. You'd have one more advance on rut where she puts in a lower high again before the capitulation, before you get this symmetrical move here. Okay, and certainly could be pull back all the way to the 200 again, somewhere down here. Okay. That's scenario 1, right? We've got one more advance. And scenario 2, we'll just turn all this off for this. Scenario 2 is it's already happened. Here's your wave 1, it completed. Here's your ABC. Right, and if you put the fibs up, it technically fits. Boom, right into the 618. There's your little flat, right? How much did she retrace? Almost 50%, right in that general area. Okay, there's your wave 2. So it's possible that wave 1 in the books, wave 2 in the books, and now get ready for another symmetrical 5-wave move lower. Best case scenario being a 5-3-5. Finding a low somewhere down here around 120. And again, if I were to look at this structurally, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you would expect this to come all the way back down here anyways. So again, maybe it's something like this, something like that. I don't know. It's extremely subjective. That's why I hate focusing on subjectivity. Objectively, this is breaking down below the range. And momentum is accelerating lower. That is objectively what is happening, okay? So your sentiment should match what you're seeing, which is very, very bearish price action. As soon as she captures the EMA 5, I think it's time to go, right? You can flip from bear to bull. But at this point, you must remain bearish until she can get back inside, back above 174 on a closing basis, okay? So let's take a look at some more positives, right? Like I gave you NVIDIA. NVIDIA is still a positive. I think any pullback you really get on the monthly into a rising 10 is for buying, 100%. So if they give you something in that general area, that's a buy. Anything down here, it's a buy. So again, hold/buy. Maybe you've got a big one like this popping. All right. And you'll see it sometime in November. Either way, these are the names that you buy. These are the names that you hold. OII continues to just be buy the dip, continues to ride the 10, ride the 20. This trend is screaming higher. Looking at the quarterly, look at this momentum. You still have a higher momentum month over month. This is what you want to see. We have not seen a peak in momentum yet, which means we are likely not to see a peak in price. And this is a higher low. Again, structurally, this is the structure you want to see. We don't have a break. We have a higher low, which means this could have been wave 1, one big wave 2, and we're just going to march higher from here. Again, I don't really need to talk subjectively about patterns. All I know is any dip that has come into this yellow line going back to Q4 2022 has been bought. So any dip into the 21, 22s this quarter is for buying. These are the names that I like to play. OII, right? NVIDIA. I've just now reallocated back into ENPH. We have this big TD 913.9 buy setup on the weekly. We did capture EMA 5. On the monthly, you have a TD9 buy setup. On the quarterly, we've pulled back into a rising 20. So far, high on month is quarterly 20, so that is a bit skeptical. If 132 continues to beat supply, then this name is likely toast, heading to 80s, 60, somewhere in that range. But the longer she, stays outside of this range, above these moving averages, you're starting to see a change in character. Like here was your bear trend. Okay, the 20 and the 10 and the 5 have been a problem this whole time. She just recently got above them and is now pulling back to confirm that they are demand. The volume is doing exactly what you want it would do. Momentum is putting in higher lows and higher highs. And the histogram on the weekly is almost positive. You've got this rounded histogram. So like I was saying before, you want to see the histogram bottom out and then flip positive. So we've got the bottom out. You should come all the way back to the 0. And then you want to see a flip positive. Now, if you get a look like this where it starts to accelerate lower again, well, then you know that we are back, resumption of downtrend. But if you look at this quarterly chart, this is a uptrend. I hate to break it to the bears. This is an uptrend, okay? Now, one could argue that just broke 113.40, 111.40. So did the uptrend break? Yeah, right? Because here's your high, your low, higher low, higher high, lower low. Pattern broke. So technically it is broken, okay? But I want to point out QQQ, not QQQ. IWM technically broke that quarterly trend here, and that became the low. So same thing could happen here, right? You just need to see a change in price action like you're starting to see with ENPH. You've captured the 10, captured the 20 on the daily. You zoom out to the weekly. You've captured the 5 on the weekly. Bull volume is returning. That's what you need to see. And on the monthly, last month's high is 132. Again, that's the level. Get above 132 and this thing will rally all the way back to 145 at minimum, which again represents like a nice little 30% move. If this thing's putting in a major bottom like everything else, it's possible everything is putting in a major bottom. It's possible that this is a 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's your 5. Here's your ABC. And now we're starting wave 3. Okay? That's possible. This was your big correction. Corrected 50% of the COVID move, right? Wave 1, done. Wave 2, done. Wave 1 of wave 2, done. And now we're starting to go higher within a wave 3 advance. And again, you look at the monthly here, that's what the monthly is suggesting if in fact the 10 holds. But again, looking at IWM, it did not. So this is why I'm skeptical and bearish, is because IWM is not confirming the monthly buy signals that you have in SMH, IWM, is just not doing it. And IYT is almost failing as well. She's kind of hanging in there, right? But she's now below the 20 and the 10 this month. And this histogram's about to flip negative. So what are you doing back here? If this was the pullback and this was the wave 2 and now wave 3 started, why are we coming back? That does not fit the bull thesis. So watch gold. Watch the flight to safety. I've given you 3 very, very quantitative, data-driven studies that recommend and suggest higher prices are likely. That being said, I've also shown a non-confirmation in Russell and in the transports and how in 2021, 2022, it led to a 33% decline, and how it's possible that non-confirmation is leading to another 30% decline that's either starting now or will start at the end of this quarter, right? At the end of Q4, starting at the beginning of next year. So at this point, it's hard to tell. I keep an open mind, and if momentum flips up on the daily and it morphs into weekly and something more, well, then that's one thing. And it's going to have to start with IWM. And until we see that, I'm going to remain cautiously optimistic with a slight bear bias. That's it. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share the content, comment on the content, and I'll see you next week.